These are clay pumpkins that I made many years ago, and I will be using them to make a beaded spider, in case you did not see my video announcing the project. And so the first thing that I need to do is to drill a hole through these pumpkins so that I can thread some wire through them. And to do that, I'm going to choose my 1/16 drill bit, and care will have to be taken because the first one was drilled out and in the process it lost its top. And that's okay, I can remedy the situation, but I want to make sure to try to keep the other stems on the pumpkins. I'll try to film this, but I make no promises. I think that did a pretty good job. Got the second one through. Success with no damage. How about that? Here's the typical bead size that I like to use for comparison. So these are a little bit smaller, especially this one, but I will just use smaller head beads to accommodate the size difference, because I think it's worth the size difference because these are so unique and so cute. And as you can see, the hole is much smaller for the wire, which means there will be less jiggling. So I do like that, because while I like these glass beads, these ceramic beads, that hole is rather large. That kind of makes things wiggle around a bit. That's not so appealing. I'm not sure if you'll be able to find pumpkin beads like this if you do not make them yourself. But for comparison, in case you can't find them and you just want to do a nice orange bead like this one, it's about 16 millimeters for visual reference. This is just a little bit smaller. And like I said, this one is even smaller, but I will just adjust the head bead to match the ratio. So other things you'll need bead ends or bead caps, and then a smaller bead for the head. And I really like this sparkly one here that I'm going to use. And then I'm going to use an even smaller bead for the end piece as well. And then you'll need assorted seed beads. I'm also going to use bugle beads. And because this has a nice vintagey patina to it, that's kind of the color palette that I'm going with when using the seed beads for the legs. And then the other things that you will need: basic basic beading tools and jewelry tools, what have you. And then you could probably make all of this out of 24 gauge wire and it'd probably work just fine. I like to use a little bit thicker of a gauge, a 14 or a 16 gauge for the body wire. Now keep in mind that you can go above and beyond as far as your beading supplies goes. You can use a head pin or an eye pin for the body if you don't want to make what I'm making to like kind of jump ahead. You can also get looper tools and all this other stuff, but I'm a creative person and a problem solver. I can do the same thing with the tools that I already have, and I don't need to do that. It's like having an egg slicer. It's really, really cool that it slices an egg that way, but guess what? I have a knife and I can do the same thing. So choose your tools and your supplies as best fitting for you. And one more tool, grab a kitchen fork. You'll need it. I am going to go ahead and cut all of my wire at once now. So I have your 14 or 16 gauge if you choose to use different sizes. And I'm just going to cut this off at roughly 4 inches. And then for the legs, you're going to need 2 at 6 inches long and then 2 at 7 inches long. And while I have the wire perfectly matched up with both sets, I'm going to fold them exactly in half using the ruler as reference in case I need it. They need to be folded as close to matching as you possibly can. And now I believe I'm all done with all the measuring tools, so we can get these out of the way and get started with the body piece. And so this wire here is for the body. And again, you can replace this step by using a head pin or an eye pin, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this part myself with turning it into such a thing. And so I'm just going to go ahead and make a loop. And that pretty much takes care of the first step. And then we're going to thread on our body pieces. And really this is your interpretation of how decorative you would like your spider to be. So I like a nice little end piece like that. And then a bead cap or a bead end. And sometimes I like a lot bigger ones, but I really want the pumpkin to stand out and be the statement piece for this spider. And it fits right on there so beautifully and so perfectly. Okay, and then this is when you're going to use your fork as a spacer. That way you have enough room for your legs to go on without them competing for space and them kind of getting all wonky. And so then I'm going to put another bead cap on or bead piece on, and then the head. And do I want it this way? No, I think I want it the other way. Really, this is your design. It's open to interpretation, however you think would look best. And then I'm going to go ahead. You could do a loop, but I'm going to finish it off with a spiral. So very carefully, when you have a good grip, bend it over. Like I said, you can do a loop, but I'm going to work this thing into a spiral. It does take some jiggering to get it going, but once you get the hang of it, you can work it around. It does take some finessing, but then once you're happy with it, go ahead and clip off the excess wire. And then you're just going to want to tuck that wire in so that nobody gets any snags or anything. There we go. From the wire. So I'm going to work that in. Perfect. And as you can see, that left a nice amount of wiggle room to place the legs through without them really getting jumbled all over each other. So let's go ahead and place the legs on. So you're going to want to group your legs up, all stacked together, and then get them across the body, and don't lose your place. Make sure that you have the wires on each side, and then you're going to cross them over perfectly and keep pulling. Pull up, go up until you get them nice and tight, just like that. And then you're going to want to fan out your legs. I like the two longest legs to be on the inside and then the two shortest legs to be on the outside. Let me show you what that looks like. So as you can see, I have my legs fanned out and I can work out my patterns for my legs. And I like to work out the patterns for the long legs first. It's going to be the same ones, but you can do whatever you like. So I will get those two legs done and then curl the feet. I'll show you what that looks like once I get to it. And then I will work on the shorter leg patterns after that. Hang on to your beads nice and tight because they'll want to fly everywhere, and then this is how we curl the feet. Just like that. Just work it right in there, and then you can clip the excess off. And there you have it. My legs are all finished. So as I stated previously, the two inner legs, these ones and these ones, have the same bead pattern, and you can make any pattern combinations that you like with whichever colors and whichever beads that you like. And then for my two outer legs, because the way I like to do my spiders, I like them to be shorter, and it's just obviously depending on variety of spider. Sometimes they do have like longer front legs, but like I said, for this one, these are shorter legs on the outside, and so I just remove a couple of beads from this main pattern to accommodate for shorter legs. And then once I finished up, I'm going to start posing the legs. But as you start posing, the beads can shift and whatnot. So for an extra step, if you like, you can put a bead of hot glue to keep these beads underneath from shifting. It's completely a personal choice, but I just want to make sure that my beads aren't shifting as I'm moving the legs into different positions. And let me show you what those posed legs look like. And with the legs bent into position, it looks like a very festive fall spider. And one more quick thing, with that little loop that was made on the back here, you can suspend it from a string to look like it's hanging from a spider web. Make it into a sun catcher, place it in a window. There's just so many opportunities. And of course, if you have a Halloween tree, you could always hang it in your Halloween tree.